So you want to build yourself the best bang for buck creator PC, meaning the best performance for your cash. And your budget is roughly around $2,500, perhaps you can stretch it to about $3,500, then in this video I'm going to show you the best PC you should build to get the best performance for your money as a creator. Now it's slightly different than gaming PCs, what you can see online. This is specifically targeted and configured and optimized for creators. After watching this video, you'll realize what parts to get, how to build it, everything you need to know. And I honestly believe this is the best tutorial you're gonna ever see on YouTube about best bang for buck creator PCs. Before I'm gonna land you with the parts of the PC build, there's 5 very important things that you need to know. Number 1, the different budgets. If your budget is a little bit less than this, there's 4-part video series that this video is part of. This is part 3 of them, and there's 2 cheaper budgets available, and there is a video for every single budget. Whatever your budget is, from $500 to over $5,000, there's a video for you. So pick the video that's closest to your budget, and then in there I'm gonna explain which parts to upgrade, downgrade. And by the time you're watching this video, most likely some of the parts have gone even cheaper that I'm recommending in here. So you're gonna get even better price for the same parts. So I highly recommend you check out the latest pricing in the description below. Number 2, the build guide. You're thinking, how the heck do I build this? Thanks for the parts, but what about building it? Well, there is a build guide in the description below where step by step I take you through building a PC. If you've never built a PC, you can confidently build a PC after watching the videos or tutorials in the description below. I'm not including them in this video, otherwise this will be 7 hours long video, but there's step-by-step guides in there. Number 3, drivers, configuration of systems, updates, Windows, fan configuration, BIOS. How the heck do you even manage your way through all of that? Not need to worry, there is step-by-step guide also in the description below. So once you actually choose the parts you want to go, there's a build guide as well as setup guide in there. Number 4, if you're wondering where to buy the PC, there's links in the description below. If you click that little arrow icon underneath the video, it will open up the video description, and there you can see all sorts of parts that I'm recommending. So you don't need to worry about purchasing an incompatible product or something that doesn't go together, flipping egg, about the wrong RAM, wrong SSD, something like that. If you follow those links in the description below, you can be confident that these are compatible and you can just use them very simply. And when you click on the link, it gives you a few options which shops you want to go for. That's there so you can compare the pricing and get the cheapest pricing. But also, if you have your favorite shop, you can just buy the part from your favorite shop. Find out more through the links in the description below. Number 5 is just a clarification of all the links in the description below. You can see my recommendation there and then the upgrade option there. Just follow the emojis, little signs there, and then you'll know which one is downgrade, upgrades, and then the recommendation for me. Also, there is alternatives for my recommendations. So let's say the one I'm recommending in the video and you click on the link and it's suddenly gone more expensive. There's also alternatives there. So you can get like similar performance or the same performance, just maybe a different brand, or you like the different design more, then go with that alternative option there. Now then, the PC parts. For £2,500, you're gonna get an insane PC. We'll start with the motherboard. And this time we're going with the Gigabyte Aero G Z690 DDR5, okay? There's a DDR4 version and DDR5 version. This time we're going with the DDR5. It's gonna set you back around $304. Now this motherboard will give you great performance in terms of connectivity. You've got 4 M.2 slots that are all Gen 4 compatible NVMe drives. You got fast USB ports, front panel USB-C port that's also very fast. Pretty much everything you want for a creator without breaking the bank, because some of the DDR5 motherboards are very expensive, and this is Z690. Bear in mind, you do have to update the BIOS before using the motherboard or putting the CPU in, because you can see the CPU is from 13th gen, and we're gonna go with 13700K, which is a fantastic CPU. It's faster than the 12900K, and I highly recommend you go check out the review of that CPU just to see how good this is, even comparison with some of the competition from AMD and so on. But The BIOS update can be easily done on the motherboard without any CPU or anything installed. I've got a tutorial for this on the channel as well, where you can just update the BIOS, plug a USB in the back there, click a button on the motherboard and it updates the BIOS, boom, and then you can install the CPU. Now for the cooler, we have upgraded the cooler from the air cooling to liquid cooling, and we're using probably the best liquid cooler out on the market, which is the Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 360mm AIO. You can also get an RGB variant if you like the RGB fans on it, but a black version is slightly cheaper, but check the pricing, sometimes it isn't that way. This will keep our CPU very much cooled down and always under wraps, and you're not gonna hear a lot of loud noises. This is one of the quietest AIOs as well. I very much enjoy this cooler. I've used it in a ton of builds. Highly recommend it. For the SSDs, we're using Team Group Cardia Z440 1TB and 2TB drives, one for the OS and one for the project drives and all your assets and so on. The reason we're using the Z440 drives is because of the terabyte written spec, which is incredible on these drives. So as a creator, if you're dumping a lot of large files on these SSDs, these will keep up with it and you don't need to worry about the SSD endurance of the drives. For the RAM this time, we're using Kingston Fury Beast and 56 mega transfers per second, 64 gigabytes of DDR5. The reason it's 5600 mega transfers and not higher is because of the memory controller, and as a creator, you want the most stable system possible, and this will run in Gear 1 linked with the CPU and the RAM XMP profile, which is the best stable performance you can get for your PC. For the GPU, we're using PNY RTX 4070 Ti, which is roughly around $840. Now, I'm gonna leave a few 4070 Ti's in the description below if you want a slightly different kind of design or model, and some of the prices vary on the GPUs quite a lot. But this will give us incredible performance. We're gonna get 12 gigabytes of VRAM, and the actual GPU calculating performance in 3D applications like Blender and V-Ray and Octane Bench, for example, is sometimes faster than 3090 Ti, which is just incredible. Obviously, if you do need the more VRAM as a creator on the 3090 or 3090 Ti, then maybe you want to look for these GPUs, but then at the same time, right now, these GPUs go so much more expensive. They're so much above their MSRP, which is just ridiculous. So in terms of best bang for buck, the RTX 4070 Ti is the one to go. For PSU, we're using a Corsair 850 watt power supply. I'm going to leave a few alternatives there as well, just in case this is slightly more expensive, or some competitors in there as well as alternatives. That's plenty of power to power the whole system. Now, in terms of the case, we're gonna up this slightly from the previous Be Quiet Fractal Design Focus 2 case, and we're gonna go with Corsair 5000D Airflow. There is black and white versions available. You pick whichever one you want, but this is big enough to kind of fit all the larger GPUs there as well. And later on, if you want to upgrade to 4090, for example, or 4080, you have the space in there. The previous Focus 2 from Fractal that I had on the previous video, this is not big enough to fit some of the bigger hardware and so on, but this does have kind of the space to have a little bit more flexibility in there. The honorable mention here is Fractal North as well, which is a beautiful PC case, and if you do like a bit of a different design, you can go with that one. The only downside with that one is that if you are going with an AIO, you're most likely not going to fit any of the GPUs, 40 series GPUs in there. There might be some of the smaller 4070 Ti's that will fit in this case, but this PNY, for example, that I'm recommending in this video right now, will not fit in that case because it's slightly smaller in there, the way they've designed it. But it's very nice compact PC case. But if you do go with the Asus RTX 4070 Ti TUF version, for example, then that will fit inside the case and you'll completely fine to go with that one. It's one of my favorite cases. And all of this that I just mentioned will set you back about $2,515.75 at the point of me making this video. I highly recommend checking out the latest pricing in the description below, because you might get it a little bit cheaper and so on, but that's that.
CCL is the place for your creator PC needs. Their wide range of products offer extremely competitive pricing, and in fact, in my experience, I have found that CCL's price is the best price on the market. There's also a 0% interest purchase option available to spread the cost. Use the code TN10 to get a special discount when spending over £250. Check out CCL and their latest pricing in the video description below. But if your budget has a little bit of flexibility and you're wondering, look, I've got a bit more to spend, what are some of the upgrades you would go for? If you've got an extra $1,000 or something like that, then here are the upgrades I would go for. The motherboard I would upgrade to Asus Z790 Creator Wi-Fi, and this is for creators who really want to create the PC seriously. What I mean by that is we've got 10 gigabit LAN built in there. We've got super fast Wi-Fi. We've got the fastest storage possible. We've got super fast front panel connectivity. This is like the ultimate creator motherboard that will give you everything you want, and the best DDR5 compatibility as well, and the stable performance of 13th gen. You don't need to update the BIOS. So there's a lot of features built into that motherboard, like Thunderbolt 4 ports and so on, that will make this motherboard worth it over the previous one. If you start to add them extra on the motherboard, on the previous motherboard, the Aero G, then you're gonna start paying more. But this Asus ProAd Z790 Creator Wi-Fi will give you all of the features you need as a creator. The CPU upgrade I would go for is the 13900K. And this is the top tier CPU, 24 cores, absolutely ridiculous performance of a CPU. So if you're a photographer or video creator, this is just the best one out there. And it's got a very good memory control as well, much better than AMD if we're going with the same RAM and so on. You will get quite a big boost in performance over the i7-13700K. For the cooler, we're gonna leave it exactly the same. And so are the SSDs. I'm gonna leave them exactly the same. But at this price point, you might need more storage. And all you have to do then is just allocate a bit more budget for your storage, and then just get more of these drives, perhaps another third Team Group Cardia Z442 terabyte drive, because you do have 4 slots on the motherboard to fill of storage, and you can add more SATA SSDs or hard drives or whatever you want as well. But I highly recommend using the M.2 storage, because this is much faster way of accessing your files and working with projects, and then all the archive and things will go on a NAS and something like that. The RAM I'm gonna leave exactly the same as well, 64 gigabytes. Not many people need extra here. You can get double of these, but you will have to drop the XMP, because you might not be able to run 128 gigabytes at 5600 mega transfers per second, just because how the DDR5 memory controller and all of this works. But what we will upgrade is the GPU here. We're going to upgrade the GPU to MSI RTX 4080 Ventus. This will roughly set you back around $1,250, something like that. I'm going to leave a few options in the description below, different models, if you want to check them out there. But this is not for everyone. This is for people who do 3D and some video editing. Premiere Pro users are not going to see that big of a difference compared to the 4070 Ti. In fact, sometimes the 4070 Ti is actually even better. But DaVinci Resolve users will see quite a big boost in there, because you're going to get more VRAM. We're going to get extra 4 gigabytes, 16 gigabytes in total, and it's going to be super, super powerful, especially for 3D creators in Octane Bench, V-Ray, Blender, you name it. In 3D, this is a much, much better card than the 4070 Ti. Now, the power supply, I recommend upgrading here as well when going with the upgrade options to Be Quiet Straight Power 11 Platinum 1000 watt power supply. So we're getting a bit more power from the power supply, so it gives you more upgrade options to go with 4090 in the future if you want to. But also it's going to be more electricity efficient. It's 80 plus platinum rated, and if you're a creator and use the PC all the time, that is going to save you money in the long run, and it's very, very high quality power supply. I'll also leave a few options in the description below. The case we're going to leave exactly the same if you want to go with the Corsair case. If you go with the Fractal North case, just bear in mind you're not going to fit all the upgrade in this case there. Just a note in that, because the GPU will not fit in there with the AIO there. You're going to struggle there, so you will have to change the case. You don't have to go with the Corsair 5000D Airflow. There's other big cases if you like the Phantix Enthoo Evolve X, for example, or some of the other larger cases from Fractal Meshify XLs or like Pop XL, like bigger cases. You feel free to go with them as well. whichever case you like, but just make sure that your GPU does fit in there. But as an upgrade, I would recommend upgrading some of the fans. Now, if you don't like RGB but like the best fans, I'd recommend going a 3-pack of Fantex T30 fans, which are the best 120mm fans in the world, and replace these with the included ones on the AIO, so you get even better airflow through the AIO. And maybe even upgrade and get even more of those fans and install them push and pull configuration, so you don't have to run them that fast, and you get the ultimate radiator cooling for your PC, because that CPU is quite hot. Now, as a creator, you're not going to see that, you know, peaked at 100% utilization, but that will get the best performance for your CPU. If you like a little bit of an RGB situation going on, then you can go with Be Quiet Lightwing's 120mm fans. They are roughly about the same price. They're not as good in terms of performance, but they will give you the RGB that you might be looking for if you want RGB in there. And also, if you just like big RGB, like the whole fan blades, everything RGB kind of lit up, and you like the RGB option, then go with the Arctic P12 ARGB 0dB fans that are the best bang for buck RGB fans out there. They're much cheaper than this, around $50 for the pack of 3, and you can get a little bit more of them. They're white and black versions available there, so you can really configure this whole PC thing like to your color theme as well. Maybe you want it black or white theme, something like that. So these are the options. Now the total in here, if you're gonna go with both of the fan upgrades here, so let's say you're gonna get 3 Fantex T30s for the AIO, and you're going to get light wings as well to put inside the PC case for both of them, this is going to set you back $3,514.60 at the time of me making this video. Like I mentioned again, check out the latest pricing in the description below. Now, very importantly, let's say your budget is slightly more than this and you're getting towards like $4,000 with your budget for the PC, then don't upgrade too much in here and check out the $4,000 PC build, because I'm recommending completely different parts. When we're starting to reach the $4,000 budget mark, then there's a different set of parts that I think are much better value and much better performance for your budget. Feel free to mix and match those upgrades. You don't have to do all of the upgrades, and if you know your workflow, you know what you want, like if you're more doing photography, skip the GPU upgrade and put this on the CPU and for example RAM perhaps, or even a motherboard. There's certain things you can mix and match in there. Just bear in mind that one of the first things I would do is upgrade the motherboard, because upgrading the motherboard later on in the future is one of the faffiest things and the most kind of wasteful things to do. So if you do think you might upgrade some things in the future like storage, and you might need Thunderbolt 4 and 10 gigabit Ethernet and so on, upgrade the motherboard first, because then even the CPU upgrade on the motherboard is easier to do than the motherboard upgrade. And if you're wondering what's the difference between DDR4 and DDR5, there's a whole tutorial on the channel where I benchmark DDR4 versus DDR5, so you can see like kind of performance difference in different applications, creative applications, what type of difference can you expect in there, and if it's worth going with DDR5 or so on. Bear in mind, at that video, we're using slower DDR5, so now we've got the faster DDR5s available, which means the performance is going to be even better. And if you don't know what storage workflow you should go for, I've got a tutorial of the storage workflow guide on the channel, so you can just follow that and learn what's terabytes written spec, what's project and archive and OS drive and cache drive, why and which drive should I be using in all of these, and which drives are the best. I'll leave that linked in the description below as well as in the end screen of this video. Thank you very much guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Hopefully you'll get the best creator PC. If you do build yourself the PC or any of these PCs and you've got Instagram, feel free to tag me. I'd love to see your creation or what you've built. Thanks guys for watching. Bye bye.